Hey, welcome to Road to Forever. I'm Terry, and in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make a bone broth in a slow cooker for gut healing. And I love bone broth. Why do you ask? Because bone broth was one of the things that I used when I was dealing with a stomach ulcer, because bone broth has gut healing properties. If you haven't seen that video about how I healed my stomach ulcer fast and used bone broth as part of that, process to heal my stomach ulcer at home, I'll link it up here for you so that you can check it out. But besides the gut healing properties of bone broth, it can also help you fight infections if you have the cold or the flu. Bone broth is great for your skin, your hair, your nails, also good for your joints. So there is collagen in bone broth, so really amazing superfood to make sure you're adding to your diet. Now, one of the things that you'll notice when I'm making this bone broth is that I'll mention that I use organic ingredients. And the reason for that is because I'm keeping the skin on these particular things that I'm using. And so if you're using things that are not organic, you have to be concerned about the pesticide load. So make sure that for this bone broth that you're using organic ingredients as much as possible. Always check the Clean 15 or the Dirty Dozens list to see if any of the ingredients you want to use in your cooking is on that list. And I'll make sure that in the description box I will put a link to the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozens list, which tells you about which foods have the most pesticides. And so if possible, you should make sure you avoid or purchase certain foods because they will be a better option for you. Also, one of the things you'll notice that I do in this video is that I don't add salt to my bone broth, and there is a reason for that. So if you are someone who's dealing with high blood pressure, you can omit the salt. Or also, if you don't have the salt in the beginning, later on, you can adjust the salt based on your recipe. So I'm someone who don't add the salt in the beginning. I also use apple cider vinegar in my bone broth, and the reason for that is because it helps to pull the nutrients out of the bones as it's cooking slowly. So again, make sure that you're including some of these things as you're making your bone broth as well. All right, so I've done enough talking for today. Let's jump in and check out how I make my bone broth at home in a slow cooker. And I'm going to be using chicken for my bone broth recipe, but I'll mention throughout the video that you can use other types of ingredients, and I make sure that I use pasture raised organic chicken. So again, really important that the ingredients that you're using are good quality ingredients, because you're going to be slow cooking these things for a long time. And if you're making something that's going to be good for your gut, you don't want to add any ingredients that aren't going to be the best for your body. So that's my reason for that. If you're enjoying this type of content, make sure you give it a thumbs up. So let's jump in and check out how to make the best chicken bone broth recipe in a slow cooker. So for your bone broth, you're definitely going to need a slow cooker. I use this brand. It's just called Crockpot. I'll put a link in the description below that you can just grab it from Amazon, or you can buy it at Walmart. I think that's actually where I got this one from. I love it because it's like nice and big. So you can see the settings are high and low, and it goes up to 10 hours on low. And then I'm going to show you the ingredients that I'm using for my chicken bone broth. So I'm actually going to make chicken, but you could make this with, oxtail bones or any type of soup bones, beef bones, whatever. So all I did was I actually took the carcasses from a roasted chicken and I just tossed that in here. So this is actually just one roasted chicken. You may want to use two depending on how rich you want your bone broth to be. So all I did was I just took all the bones out from that roasted chicken. And so I have a roast chicken that I'm just going to use like the chicken breast to make like chicken salad sandwiches, or just regular like chicken salads. So this leftover with all of the bones is here that I'm going to use as part of my bone broth. Also, I'm going to be using apple cider vinegar. So this is the apple cider vinegar I have. It says organic raw apple cider vinegar with the mother. So again, that's the good bacteria. This one's from Trader Joe's, but you can use a brand like Bragg's or anything else like that. And I'll make sure I put that in the description as well. So I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of the apple cider vinegar. So my other ingredients are some carrots. These are organic because, as you can see, the skin is staying on. So you're not going to remove the skin for any of these. So I have 4 organic carrots. I just chopped those up. I have some celery as well. I just chopped that up. I have 1 large onion that I chopped up. I have 1 garlic that I cut in half. I have some peppercorns. You may see this in the grocery store as allspice. I have 2 bay leaves. I have some fresh thyme, and then I also have some scallions. I'm Jamaican, so we love to use scallions in our food because, again, it has a nice flavor. You might see it in the grocery store as green onions. So these are all of the ingredients that I'm going to add right to my crock pot. And then once they're all in the crock pot, I will just cover them with water and let this cook on low for 12 to 24 hours. So the longer the better. It's really up to you, but at least 12. But if you can get to 16 or 24 hours, that's even better. So I'm going to put this on now, and the next time you see me, it will be when this is finished, and I'm going to show you what to do next. So I figured you guys might actually want to see what this looks like in the crock pot. So I'm back before it's over. So here it is. I have filled it up with water. So about an inch from the top of the crock pot. So as you can see, this is full. I have everything in here, and again, I added my 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and I'm just gonna, like I said, just let this cook on low, and then I'll show you the finished product and show you how to store it, so that way you can have this awesome chicken bone broth that you can use to make soup, or you can just drink it for your gut healing purposes. So I'll be back with that. So guys, look at this. It's been 20 hours. I'm actually just going to stop it because I have something else to do. So, you know, if I leave those extra 4 hours, I won't be here to like strain it off once it's finished. So you can see that this is a nice, deep, rich color. So all you'll need is a glass bowl or another pot, any container that you'll be able to strain out these scraps into so that you can have your bone broth separate. So you'll need a fine mesh strainer. So I'm just going to set up my fine mesh strainer in another pot, and then all I'm going to do is just pour this off for my bone broth. And then once I pour it off, all I will do is I will leave it on the counter to just cool down and be warm, and then I will put it in the fridge overnight. Because once you put it in the fridge, what's going to happen is you're going to have a layer of fat that sits on top, and then you can just scoop that off. You can either toss it out, or you can actually use that fat for cooking. So it's really up to you. So I'll show you the next step where I have set up my strainer and I'm going to pour off my bone broth. All right, guys, so I have my fine mesh strainer set up in a stainless steel pot in my sink. I know you guys said you could use your glass bowl, but like I said, I'm not putting it in the fridge right now because I'm going to leave mine out to warm, and I don't want my glass bowl to crack. So I'm actually just going to strain it into my stainless steel pan. So all I did was I just took the center part of the crock pot out, and I'm just pouring that right into the strainer. And make sure all the juices come out so that you have that nice delicious broth, and you'll see all the scraps that are remaining in your pot. You're not going to eat those, you're just going to discard them. And so let me just take this out so you can see. All right, so there. Just those juices coming out. Like I said, these scraps I am just going to put right into the trash. So as you can see, still draining, but let me give you a look at our delicious bone broth in a minute once this is finished. All right, guys, so here is our final product. Look at that beautiful color. Like this gut healing bone broth. And you could literally, if you wanted to, you could drink some of this right now. And if you remember in the beginning, I didn't add any salt to my bone broth. But if you wanted to, if you know you didn't want it to just be as it is now and you didn't like the taste, you could add a little bit of salt. So the beauty of that is you can adjust, you know, the salt at the end if you don't put it in the beginning. So you could add a little bit of salt, or you could add a little bit more black pepper if you wanted. So this is what it looks like. And how beautiful is that, guys? This nice rich color. So like I said, I'm just gonna leave it to you know, cool down a bit, and then I'll add it to some mason jars, and I will put that in the refrigerator to just stay there, so whenever I need it, then I'll have it. All right, guys, so now that my bone broth has cooled down considerably, what I'm going to do is just going to take my ladle, and I'm just going to spoon my bone broth right into these mason jars. Obviously, you could just, you see, what I just did, I just made a mess because I'm trying to show you how to do it, but you could literally just take this, and if you had like a funnel, you could just pour it directly from your pot. So all I'm going to do is just spoon these in here, and then I will just put them in the refrigerator. And that's really simple. So here are my bone broth now in my mason jars, ready for just storing in the fridge. You can see that there's a little bit of fat settling on the top. So like I said, once you leave this to cool, you can scrape that fat off, and you can use that in cooking, or you can just leave that fat in there as if you want. So it's really up to you, but you can see they are this nice, beautiful, rich color. And like I said, this is some gut healing goodness, anti-inflammatory benefits with this delicious chicken bone broth that, you know, it only took you 20 hours to make and doesn't cost a lot of money. So how easy was it to make that bone broth, guys? And you can use this bone broth in any of your recipes, whether you're making some type of stew, chili, or even chicken soup. Whatever you want to do, you can use this bone broth and have all of these gut healing properties, infection fighting properties. So this is something to definitely add to your recipe list to do. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you enjoyed it, I would ask that you would share it with your friends, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe for more awesome content just like this. Before you leave, I want to remind you that you're only one prayer away. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Take care.